So since it's a current events headline, how does the battle over Mosul fit into this idea of a more national Sunni perspective?
Well, Mosul historically is a Sunni majority city, but it is part of Iraq, and it has been. It was declared the capital of ISIS or the Islamic State 2 years ago when they took it over, and we are now seeing this massive campaign to push ISIS out of Mosul. And what will come in its place is up in the air a little bit. Turkey and Saudi Arabia seem to be very insistent on maintaining Mosul's Sunni majority identity because Saudis are concerned that Iran will expand its influence if it turns out to be more of a Shia city. Turks are concerned that if Kurds, who are playing an active role in retaking Mosul, kind of exert their presence and influence in Mosul, and that's a concern for Turks. So there is Turkey wants to have a say in what happens after Mosul. They're not really involved in the campaign itself, military campaign, but they're watching it carefully, and they see that as a kind of an important change in the region, and they want to make sure that it changes in a way that serves Turkey's interests.
But Turkey does have a military presence both in northern Syria and northern Iraq, but they're not involved in the fighting per se.
That's correct. They have military presence in both places, and they are there to help some local Iraqi troops protect Turkey's interests, but they're not involved in the campaign.
Would you say that this, the current approach is a legacy a little bit of what some scholars were calling neo-Ottomanism some years ago as a kind of regional policy to extend Turkey's influence into former Ottoman territories? Yeah.
It does appear that, I don't know if it's if it was ever a conscious, well thought out plan of re-exerting Ottoman influence or Ottoman-like influence in the region. But there seems to be some interest on the part of the Turkish government to reclaim some of the territories that used to be part of the Ottoman Empire. And regardless of what you call it, I think there is a very clear interest in expanding Turkey's interest as a regional power in especially the Arab Middle East. That is a political choice, and I think they're pursuing that.
So the earlier iteration was that this was sort of a soft power move, and it was explicitly described in those terms. It seems now that we actually are moving more towards a hard power presence in these places, and the worry obviously is that it will spiral out of control. People are saying that this battle over Mosul may take months.
Yes.
Do you think that this could be destabilizing the way it's been destabilizing in Syria? Is this an opening for a civil war, or will this be quick?
Yes. I don't think it will be quick. So I think a very important part of Turkey's growing soft power in the Middle East was its growing economy.
Yes.
And that was, and there was a time when Turkey was really expanding its trade and investment in different parts of the Middle East, and Syria and Iraq were important conduits for that. Syria especially was the major sort of outlet for Turkey's economic presence, trade, etc., in other parts of to other parts of the Middle East. Since the changes, actually, it goes back to the Arab Spring, but since the civil war in Syria, of course, that relationship changed significantly, and that was both the changes in North Africa and Iraq and Syria limited Turkey's economic power in the area, or the possibilities of Turkey's economic expansion. So without that, the soft power became more questionable. This is perhaps maybe the Mosul and other kinds of incursions in Syria and Iraq look like more of a traditional old-style military hard power kind of expansion. But as we know, in the Middle East, the relationships on the ground are very complicated
Yes.
and very complex, and these things never end quickly. They don't end quick. They didn't end quickly for the U.S. They didn't end very quickly for the Soviet Union during the Cold War. And if Turkey finds itself somehow involved in a long conflict, I think that would really be quite destructive.